Zacchaeus the tax collector. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was short, he could not see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed up a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, "He has gone to be the guest of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham, for the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost."
Very different. The background to this is Jesus was famous. He'd performed many miracles. He'd raised Lazarus from the dead. So, this week, how many people have you seen raised from the dead? None? Oh, okay. He restored the sight to the blind. So, how many people have you restored sight to? I'm doing too well, are we? Come on, poor crowd here. He'd done so many things. He came into the city. The crowd was there. It was a buzz. I'm not sure how you'd feel if you were at the front of the crowd after doing so many things. And finally, after all these years, the Son of God is getting recognition. I went to yesterday, busy last 3 months for me. My daughter came back from Mexico for my father's funeral, and we've been run ragged for 3 months. Almost the climax to this yesterday was getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. They've been to France. I went to France with them, came back by train to do the accounts. Then the night they come back, next morning, yesterday morning, we don't just go to a steam rally somewhere in Dorset. We have to go to Monkey World first. Some have to go to steam rally, some have to go to Monkey World. We have to meet in the services. We all dash off, and then we all have to converge in bank holiday weekend traffic. When I get there, it was like this, actually. I have never seen a place like it. I went to China a few months ago, and it was crammed with people. Those people were not there to see anything. They were just going about their daily lives. It made me feel ill, the number of people that were there. Everywhere you went, there were thousands upon thousands of people. There were skyscrapers by the thousand, only about half of them full, probably. I've been told they like to build. It was just awesome. I went to this steam rally yesterday, and you drove over the hill, and we've been to Monkey World and all these lovely cute little monkeys, and I just stopped Alice trying to get one to put in a bag and another one to get in a bag. I was afraid that we'd have about 5 monkeys, but no, that was fairly hectic. But then we get to this place, and as you come over the brow of the hill, you see like 20,000 caravans. And then you see the centre where they've got these great big steam traction engines going up and down the hill. There isn't one, there's about 500 traction engines. And there's a fun fair, and everyone is heaving there to enjoy themselves with a purpose to, I guess, worship steam. And it was very impressive, I have to say. Again, overwhelming. But Jesus was there. He was the centre of a attraction, right? He was famous. They came here. Who wouldn't like it? Now, when I stand at the front, I'm sure Elizabeth and Sharon feel the same, we don't feel that everyone came to see us. And they didn't. They came to see Jesus. We feel a bit nervous, yeah? And we want to do the right thing. We certainly don't want to upset the congregation, yeah? Any way we could. Because we want you to hear Jesus as well. So Jesus gets here, and he doesn't talk to the Pharisees. He doesn't talk to the people who want to come and see miracles. Yeah? He doesn't talk to his disciples even. It's not too good. We're fairly weak on numbers. We want leaders. But no, he didn't come and encourage his leaders. He'd been doing that other times. He came to see just one person. The least likely person at all. And then we've got Zacchaeus. let's pick on Zacchaeus, because everyone knows I despise tax collectors. Sorry, God, that's a sin. I really do not. That's why I always get these when there's a talk. I get this, yeah? Somehow someone managed to pick the person I like the least. There aren't that many people, but a tax collector, a cheating tax collector who collects taxes for the enemy, for an oppressive army there. And all this crowd want to hear is, I'm going to overthrow this army and kick the silly things out. And we can be powerful nation before God. And God sends his Son of God, and he wants to talk to a tax collector. It's beyond me, I have to say. But Zacchaeus, short, as Elizabeth has said, low life, he knows no one likes him. Yeah? He must have money. He's cheated people. Why on earth would he have the audacity to come and see Jesus? He must know how important Jesus was. He could get stoned. He could get mugged in the crowd. Lots of things come to mind. But he came, and he came with zeal. He wasn't prepared, except for he knew the route. He prepared to find out where he would find Jesus. Yeah? He also overcame the barrier of his shortness. He climbed a tree. Yeah? Now, I've not seen many short people climb trees. I'm sure they can be quite good at it. But if you were a wealthy tax collector, it must have been quite a challenge. I could climb a tree. Bob can go up a ladder. I'm not sure about the rest of you. We'd struggle. So Zacchaeus came with no agenda. He just wanted to see Jesus. He came and overcame the barriers. Like Elizabeth's talk. This person was short, this basketball player. But he came and made so much difference, not just to everyone else's lives, but to his life as well. So, that is the background. Okay? What does this mean? We know what it means to Zacchaeus. It's laid out quite simply here. He was looking for Jesus. Jesus looked up at him and acknowledged him. Wow. And it changed his whole life. He said he was a cheat. It changed his life. Jesus invited himself to his home. Now, if anyone invited themselves to my home, they'd be in big trouble. Maybe if I tidied up for 2 hours or 4 hours, I did the shopping, I got everything right, got it looked, mowed the lawn, etc., etc., they could come through the door. But no, he just took him home. So I don't know what happened there. Only Jesus could get through our door, I reckon, without any announcement beforehand. So, those are the obvious things. Zacchaeus, a miserable sinner, was saved. And that applies to each of us, and it applies to the church. We have juggled a lot to get here. I've told you some of my experiences. I bet you all have those experiences. The reasons not to get here. But Zacchaeus planned. And he ran. So how many of you ran to church this morning? I have on occasion cycled to church, but not to get here fast, just to get exercise. So no one here was keen enough to come to church to run here. Okay? So Zacchaeus has got one over on each one of us. He climbed a tree. He's got one over us on this. Some of us have been quite busy preparing, and he had no expectations. That's good if you had no expectations when you came here. But he came to seek. He just came to see Jesus. How simple is life, really? We have all our problems, all our reasons. We can be away for very good reasons. We can be on holiday. We can be looking after the sick. We can have very important things to do. But apart from all that, if we juggle, often we can make a difference to come here. And he just came to see. The beautiful thing is, Jesus came for the same reason, to see Zacchaeus. He didn't come to see anyone else. He came to see Zacchaeus. He didn't care about upsetting the Pharisees. He didn't care. Care is not the right word. His importance was Zacchaeus. The importance wasn't to see the Pharisees, his disciples, and everyone else. Other people came to Jesus, and it was very simple. We've heard it in the sermons before, quite recently. Lepers came to see Jesus. Where he is, and Jesus is here today, as well as everywhere else. They came to see, and Jesus shouted from a distance. They didn't even invade his zone, and they were saved. The lady came in the crowd and just touched his cloak. Jesus was there for that lady, a little old lady. Jesus there was for the friends who lowered the crippled man through the roof. Jesus is there for all these things. These are miracles, and they can stir up the crowd. But that isn't why Jesus did it. He was here, he was there, just for those who needed him. And I can assure you here today, every one of us need Jesus for a variety of reasons. What did Jesus take away from this? Not that he needs to, he's the Son of God. Well, like all Baptists, he got a free meal. You come along, you see someone, and you get invited back for a meal. Great stuff. And even Jesus invites himself back for a meal. He didn't worry about the descent, so that was not a positive. He knew what was coming. This was preparing the way for all of us to be saved. The descent, the crucifixion in the end. It was a lesson to his disciples as well. It's not all plain sailing. And here, we don't all have plain sailing. Things get tough. Things don't go the way that we expect. Even with the church leaders, it won't always go the way we expect. But he saved someone. Now, if someone had said this week, I saved someone, I think we'd all be very impressed. And maybe without noticing it, we have. And we probably have done something towards saving people. Yeah? You may not know. I know of deeds that have been done this week, apart from the hedge. I know of the kind words that have been sent to people. Actions have been done for people. Last week I did something for someone. It's just one thing I can do as at my work. And she comes along and says, "Oh, you're an angel." I thought, that's a nice thing to say. Not often called an angel. But obviously it made an awful lot of difference to her. And she was is a Christian. It wasn't obvious, though, what was happening. So, are we ready for Jesus? For these things that we don't know? I mean, as a church, are we ready? What are we seeking as a church? Are we seeking the fame, a full church, fantastic worship, fantastic singing, great orators, speakers? Yeah. It'd be lovely, wouldn't it? That isn't actually why we're here, but it'd be very nice. And it wasn't what Jesus came for either. So when we look at our problems here, we need to think about that. It gets very difficult, especially for all the leaders in the church. They've got all the challenges which we don't even think about. So we should be thinking, what can we do to help them, not waiting for them? Zacchaeus wasn't the church leader. He didn't even realise what was going to happen. But when he climbed that tree, when he ran there, planned and climbed the tree, he was the one that wasn't in church. He was the one who had no clue of what he could give to anyone else. And as Elizabeth's illustration with the basketball player, that basketball player became the top basketball player. He even grew. I'm not sure how that works. I do know that a little bit how that works, because at school I was always the shortest. My nickname, although you're not allowed to tell anyone, because no one knows this, so this is a church thing, was Diddy. I didn't mind being called Diddy, and I was literally the shortest person in the class every year at school. And it's much better than some of the other nicknames, I have to say. So I was Diddy. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get fed that much at school. But fortunately, I did carry, not very tall now, but I did carry on growing. So it can continue when you have activity, food, motivation, I'm not sure. I think Elizabeth has rather overdone the growing. She's now taller than everyone else just about. But, things can happen. And every one of us here today, whether we intended it or not, and those are the people that we are going to talk to, could be making a difference as well. So when Bob and the leaders are picking people for the church rota to hear a speaker, that speaker can make a difference to whoever comes in the morning. It could even be someone who can regular and inspire us as well, and talk of God for each of us, and for those people who haven't come in through the door yet. So it wasn't the same crowd as we thought it would be, but by picking Zacchaeus, he made a difference. He got a great return on investment. If Zacchaeus had been out collecting his taxes and making lots of money, which I'm sure we would all like to do, and some of us in this church who aren't here are probably even doing that. Not a criticism. But if he had been out collecting lots of money, he would have missed Jesus. There would have been less money given to people who have been cheated, and there would have been less work done for the Lord. So, that's something to think about. Running to Jesus, see Jesus and seeking Jesus. How important is it for us to be here worshipping God and listening to what he has to tell us? It's very important. But we all can get distracted. I could have been at the steam rally. Actually, I'm rather glad I'm not, because I've been camping overnight and it was wonderful, but very claustrophobic. There are other organisations apart from us that don't have enough work. People not coming through the doors. People not seeking Jesus. I do Boys Brigade. I've had some very bad news recently. A key worker is not going to be coming anymore, for reasons I definitely won't discuss. And his family are not going to come anymore, for reasons I can't discuss. So it means that instead of having about 8 helpers, we now have 2 helpers, because the whole network was based on that family. And so, after 30 years of the Boys Brigade, for the sake of a couple of people, it looks like they're going to close. Now, unfortunately, the kids are there. The kids are there, and we've done groundwork. Some of those kids there, are getting towards the older ones, are really good. They're the future people in the church. But we can't get people to come. And we obviously struggle with the work here. And every church, or most churches in this country, seem to be doing the same. But there's how many Zacchaeuses out there? Always something to give. It's amazing. Jesus looked and sought in the right place. Jesus always has something to say to us. If he can say it to a tax man, he has something to say of worth to me and to you. And we are never prepared. Zacchaeus was not prepared. He did nothing to prepare. Being prepared is good if you're going to organise something for other people. Don't get me wrong. But he didn't have an agenda. All he did was curious, looking for Jesus, which is great. He had no excuses. He was enthusiastic. He didn't care that he was going to be unpopular, and sometimes our work makes us unpopular. We had a speaker who came along a few weeks ago. He talked about the leprosy mission. And he's going to go to Spurgeon's to do work. And I was very sad to hear, and this is often the case, it's not closely to this, but it is relevant. His church couldn't send him on it because he didn't fill the rules for that year. He hadn't been attending long enough in a Baptist church as a member to go to Spurgeon's. And I think you have to, in some areas, do 2 years, and some areas you don't. Okay? So he couldn't take the course yet. So what he's done is he's gone to different churches, ours amongst them, and talked to different churches. Now, he wasn't entirely happy about it. It's not quite what he had planned, and he's certainly not a Zacchaeus. But he wasn't put off at all. And he actually said, I'm going to different churches, I'm learning more before I do the training. And therefore he saw it as a positive. Things do not go according to plan. Things will have gone according to plan for Jesus. We just wouldn't understand it. We wouldn't have picked that route, and none of us would have picked Zacchaeus. So this morning we can look out for the example from Jesus. Look out for the people that we are missing, and look out for the things that we aren't doing. We may think they're right, but maybe we need to take a second take on that. And as we start back from the summer, we get our priorities right, and that includes me and everyone else and the people not here, and put Jesus first. If tax collector, a miserable, lowly tax collector, can put Jesus first, then I can as well. Thank you.